There's a very real possibility this YouTube channel will be shut down at some point and potentially soon. I think my main channel, which is youtube.com/Timcast, that is not this channel, you are on Timcast News. I think, because YouTube puts the name Timcast in this, people get confused. But yes, there's a different channel, my main channel, with more subscribers, and people don't know that. youtube.com/Timcast. Subscribe there if you haven't. There's a very real possibility this channel gets deleted. Since the Vox adpocalypse, and actually well before this, we have seen channels being purged, losing monetization, being kicked out of the partner program entirely, meaning you can no longer make ads, period, and some channels being outright deleted. Recently, the channel Black Pigeon Speaks just deleted. Channel in good standing. Admittedly, I'm not familiar with Black Pigeon other than seeing the logo sometimes on YouTube, so I wasn't really familiar with what was going on. But community outcry, channel got restored, and now I have a better understanding because in the wake, people have kind of reported what's happened. So my understanding is that, people say that Black Pigeon is kind of just like a conservative. I'm not really sure. I don't want to, falsely label somebody, but this is a channel that did nothing wrong, monetized, in good standing. Thanos. Just YouTube said, purge. Steven Crowder said during the Vox adpocalypse that we are facing a new apocalypse, that YouTube is going to start purging channels, and they are. About a year ago, we saw a wave of mass demonetization. What that meant was full channels were switched from the green money icon, meaning all ads, to the yellow icon, only some ads. You still make money when you are demonetized, right? So we got to draw this distinction. When I make a video, I make 6 videos per day, 5 on this channel and 1 on my other channel, which is, it's labeled Tim Pool, and this one's labeled Timcast. Don't ask me. It's on the right side of this channel. If you click the name, you'll see it. There's a bunch of channels. But I faced a mass wave where they turned the green icons to yellow icons. So you'll go from, you end up making 80% less than you normally would because now you only get like beer commercials. People who are willing to advertise on edgy content. I don't know how the system figures out what should or shouldn't be monetized, but this was what people were saying was demonetization. They're like, oh, so-and-so got demonetized. And when they say that, we were referring to YouTube just going through and every single one of your videos was now considered too edgy, but you could still make money. When you were demonetized in this capacity, you could still make money through YouTube Red. YouTube Red is the subscription service, or they call it premium now, I guess. So you'll still make a little bit of money. However, now what we're seeing is channels are being outright removed from the partner program. This is really worrisome. We're launching a new. I'm expanding into a new news company. I've got now 4 channels. We're about to activate the 4th channel, which is going to be involving. Oh, I'm in the van, by the way. For those who haven't realized, yeah, it's up and running. So we're 99.9% done. I'm really concerned that it's disconcerting, I should say, that YouTube is doing this review process. So I have this article that brings up some interesting points, and I should probably go through this to talk about what's going on, but there's a lot to talk about. So I'll say this. Many of you may not know this, but a year ago, YouTube started, at some point a year ago, started doing a manual review of all of these different channels. They were stripping people from the partner program, but they were smaller channels, and so a lot of people didn't really notice or care. Some people would tweet and say, it's not fair, I've got, 8,000 subscribers, I'd meet the threshold, why was my channel removed from the partner program? And they would say, oh, we'll review it, just let us know. We're now at the point where channels with millions, Steven Crowder, for instance, are removed from the partner program. He'll be okay, he can sell his own ads, he has his own sponsors. We're also now seeing mid-level channels. I don't know how you describe the size of my channels. This channel has 430K subs. My main channel has 520. But medium, not small. I've been working a lot. Things have been growing. But these are the channels that are now getting purged. I think there's a very real possibility this could be one of them. I think my main channel might be okay because I'll just leave it there. I don't want to get into too much nitty-gritty of, back end and stuff like that. But suffice it to say, this is essentially an apocalypse where they're going to be purging a ton of channels. And I think the reason for it is described very well in this video, which we'll read it. This is from Tablet Magazine, The Coming Gentrification of YouTube. David Auerbach writes, moderating YouTube won't get rid of all the extremist content, just the stuff that doesn't make money. So he brings up some really good points. Let's just read some of it and we'll talk more. He writes, Marshall McLuhan was wrong. The moderation is the message. That at least is the message one gets from reading the New York Times story about the phenomenon of YouTube radicalization, of which there isn't really one. The piece chronicles how YouTube sent a young man down a rabbit hole of increasingly extremist right-wing videos, all the better for YouTube, which kept him clicking, all the worse for society. In the end, on the equivocal note that the man has successfully climbed out of a right-wing YouTube rabbit hole only to jump into a left-wing YouTube rabbit hole. Yes, that's true, because social media pushes people to the far left and the far right. The moderate voices do really, really poorly. Admittedly, maybe that's why YouTube likes me, and I think my main channel might be okay. I don't think they know about this channel. If they review it, it might just get knocked out. They've already deleted one of my videos over what is presumably a legal complaint from Pinterest, which is terrifying. Let's read on. Fears around such radicalization have led many to insist that YouTube should go beyond its current policy of only removing extreme content that crosses hard lines of malicious harassment, hate speech, and child endangerment. Felix Salmon, in Axios, argues for principles-based moderation, which would allow for ad hoc and non-precedential takedowns whenever it decides that a particular video is causing significant harm. Let me rephrase that. He's arguing for arbitrary enforcement, meaning you'll have one person who says, I think you are harmful. That's called bias. We need free expression and free speech. But look, I know Felix somewhat, and I'm not surprised that people working in media have the opinion that there should be moral arbiters determining what you should or shouldn't be allowed to hear. That's terrifying. However, he goes on to say, granting YouTube such wide latitude to police content would fail to address the underlying problem. No matter how much YouTube cracks down, it will still consider Hannity, Tucker Carlson, and even Steve Bannon to be uncensorable, authoritative sources, because like it or not, society considers them to be authoritative sources. What many are asking of YouTube amounts to, please remove some of your harmful content, but only the unimportant stuff. But lest we forget, YouTube is a profit-maximizing corporation, not an organ of representative democracy or the public trust. Insofar as YouTube responds to public concerns about its content, the company will be guided not by the political conscience of its critics, but rather by a desire to limit liability while protecting its bottom line, period. This explains exactly what we've seen. Smaller channels getting purged, bigger channels being kind of left alone. Crowder was the subject of a massive media campaign. So there was really it was bad PR. They came after him. But Crowder also shows exactly what they're saying does make sense. What David is saying is spot on. Because according to YouTube, Crowder broke no rules. And Crowder gave several examples like Trevor Noah making offensive racist stereotypes. And you have John Oliver and you have Samantha Bee all using terrible insults and slurs. And if what Crowder did was against the rules, they'd have to ban everyone else too. But YouTube still took his partner program, kicked him out of the partner program, which shows it doesn't matter. Even if you don't break the rules, YouTube will try to limit its liability and will cause you harm. Even though removing Crowder from the partner program did nothing to satiate the thirst of the outrage mob. So this is what I think is going to happen. YouTube for the longest time has wanted to be Netflix. I know this for a fact because I know people at Google and YouTube who told me straight up years ago, our biggest competition is Netflix. And that's true in a certain way. In the early days of YouTube, Vice was getting, tens of millions of views. Why? There was nowhere to watch digital documentary. Netflix launched its digital arm, and all of a sudden you had premium content you could watch online, and YouTube saw that pain. Vice videos started doing substantially, less well, getting way less views, averaging down to hundreds of thousands to the low millions as opposed to the 10 or 12 they were getting before. Some even got 20 or 26 million. There was a doc I did for Vice that got 5 or 6, which was great. But this was around the era that Netflix was starting to take over, and then all of a sudden we saw video views going down. It helped Vice that they launched Vice News, and then all of a sudden you had big PR pushes for this content that existed on the internet. But YouTube has been trying to make YouTube Netflix. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think the partner program is going to be stripped down to probably only a few thousand channels. I don't know which channels, but I do know I'm probably not going to be one of them. My channels rank around 30 to 38,000 of the top channels in terms of subscribers. In terms of video views, I really have no idea. Social Blade doesn't track monthly views, but I'm getting around 33 million views per month as of the past 30 days, which is fantastic. It's better than I've ever done. So that may be good for something, I don't know. But I know that YouTube wants... I mean, look, what works on YouTube versus what YouTube wants to work are very, very different things. Initially, I was making videos that were edited, and you'd actually, right now my face is cropped, and you see the screen, and I just, this is the thing that works for YouTube. It's the same with Let's Play videos. For those that aren't familiar, those Let's Play videos are basically someone's face in the corner while the video game is playing. I'm essentially doing something very, very similar in that you see the news story, and then you see me talking in the corner. This works for YouTube. But this isn't John Oliver. This isn't The Daily Show where you have a host at a desk, and YouTube wants content like that, not content like this, but this is the content people want. So we're experiencing an artificial gentrification. I think YouTube is going to say, let's make everything more like TV. I think the reason you see channels like Black Pigeon Speaks get deleted is because he doesn't show his face, he has a cartoon avatar, and a lot of successful political commentary channels hide their identities on purpose because of the fear of retaliation. But that is not premium or mainstream. These channels with cartoon avatars are not going to be on TV. The regular people in America it is assumed this is outside of the mainstream. They want to bring things back to the way they used to be. They want that at-the-desk host. So we're doing that a bit with Subverse, admittedly, possibly to our detriment, but there's a reason why why I'm differentiating and doing different channels. Right now I'm in the van, and the goal is to do more on-the-ground, real conversation, interview things, like man on the street kind of stuff, because different formats, I'm trying to basically protect my ability to keep doing the work I want to do. But I think what we've seen with, all of these channels getting demonetized is that there is an escalating review process where the snowball rolling down the hill faster and faster results in channels just getting snapped, just getting removed. I think the only reason you'll see a channel like Black Pigeon Speaks restored is because of community outcry. But there are a lot of channels that were smaller that nobody cried out for because they were small. And that's exactly what this tablet article is basically saying. He says that Tucker Carlson and Hannity, if you do the same content as them in the same way, you will probably get demonetized. I kid you not. Tucker Carlson called Brian Stelter of CNN a eunuch. I really don't think, if you that would get demonetized outright. But on Fox News, actually, I'll say this, Fox News, Tucker's show got demonetized too because of political comments he made about immigrants. That's a different issue. The point is, YouTube determines what they think isn't advertiser safe, regardless of what the advertisers are actually saying. Advertisers say we don't want to be on controversial content, but controversial is changing every day because of the outrage mob. So I think YouTube has decided just to get rid of everybody. But here's the thing. There's always some, pros and cons for people on YouTube. If this channel gets demonetized, that's, the ad revenue from this and my main channel, it's a significant portion of my income. I'll be okay. But if this channel, I don't know if I could continue the workload that I'm doing now if this channel was removed from the partner program or something like that. It's possible. I'd probably shift to a different style of content and try and figure something else out. I think YouTube knows this. I think YouTube doesn't like this content. So I really have no idea. I really don't. So instead of continuing this rant, I know I may have just dropped a point, but I want to read a little bit more because they talk about the New York Times piece, and they make a really important point about the mainstream's shield versus YouTube's willingness to just wipe you out. So check this out. So he makes reference to a video he was watching on artificial intelligence and how he got recommended David Icke, the conspiracy theorist. He says, ironically, the New York Times boosted Icke's profile last year while interviewing author Alice Walker. Walker raved about one of Icke's books, saying that in his books there is a whole of existence on this planet and several others to think about. The Times defended the piece by saying that Walker was worthy of interviewing. He says, it's dismaying to see Icke's ignorance and bigotry promoted anywhere, and yet an open liberal society requires that he have the civic right to express himself. The question is, what responsibilities do platforms like YouTube and the New York Times have to limit his exposure? Unlike the Times, YouTube has a softer method of moderation. It demonetizes videos so the creators can't profit from them. YouTube will not place ads on videos or pay their creators for videos that don't meet a considerably higher bar of safe and offensive content. Such videos are also penalized in rankings and not recommended. Right-wing loudmouth Steven Crowder, subject of much controversy last week, has been demonetized. He's been booted from the partner program entirely. That Icke AI video has not. Possibly because Icke does not talk about lizards or Jews in it. So the point I want to make is, What's dangerous about what YouTube is doing is that the mainstream is beating the hell out of YouTube and YouTubers and then hosting the exact same people they complain about. The New York Times had boosted David Icke's profile. The New York Times puts these people on the news and they think they have the right to do it, and then they run a front page story smearing YouTube, and YouTube bends the knee. Let me get back to the main point, because I don't want to make this a 40-minute video. Not the main point, but a point I was going to make before is that there is a potential positive for those who survive if if you make it. I'll tell you this. I think one of the reasons that YouTube is purging a lot of channels is because it was a big mistake of YouTube to open the partner program to everybody. Initially, if you were on YouTube, you could get in the partner program as a select, invite only. That allowed you to make money, and they did it for only select people, and it made sense because they vetted you. They knew what kind of content you made. Then they decided, anybody can do it. Well, then you end up with really wacko videos getting ads on them, and advertisers got mad. But it did something else. It meant that the supply of ad space became near infinite. The demand for ad space will never reach the supply. How many videos are uploaded every day, every minute? How many minutes of content? Well, there's not that many advertisers. What happened was the cost of ads were driven down to a penny per view. I kid you not, 1 cent. So you could spend $1 and get 100 views. And that's pretty good for your average advertiser, especially if you're targeting by location. There's just too much content. But you're guaranteed the view, so supply and demand. What YouTube is doing now is likely going to drive up CPMs for the creators that make it through the purge. If you survive, you'll probably see your ad revenue skyrocket, which is good news for premium creators, and I think this falls back into the idea of gentrification. I think they've planned this. They view monetization as a privilege, not a right. They want premium content, and it's not going to happen if people are getting 1 cent per view and their CPMs are trash and anybody can be in the partner program. Presumably, if the amount of views I get, if they got rid of, 50 million channels from the partner program, which they already did basically, it was like 80% last year or something, then there's no place for advertisers to spend, to buy. If there's only 1,000 channels, of which I would never make the cut, then CPMs are going to dramatically skyrocket as everyone starts competing for access to ad space. There will still be cheap ads, there will still be, penny ads, but for the most part, your average creator will make way, way more money, which presents the opportunity for way, way more premium content. This is the coming gentrification of YouTube. It's also why I believe that channels are arbitrarily being purged. They need to cut the supply down so the demand will stay the same, but they can artificially cut supply to drive up prices and provide more resources towards their better creators, their premium creators who can make money. And I think that's what's happening. There's some other things I can't really talk about that I think lend more evidence to this. But I, for privacy reasons, I'm going to avoid this. But let me just say there's some behind the scenes things that I know about that make me feel YouTube is doing hard audits on channels. Like, I'm talking about a literal handful of people in Silicon Valley sitting down, going through people's videos at a high level. I'm not, when they do these reviewers and the algorithmic stuff, they have like low-level outsourced jobs. But I'm saying right now, I believe that they're, based on some conversations I've had, I talk with people at Google, that there's internal Google staff at a high level that are manually going through channels. It's not going to be a blanket sweep, because if they just snapped their fingers and purged, and literally did a Thanos of all of YouTube, people would shriek in outrage. But every day another channel is stripped. Every day another channel is banned, and they're doing it with small channels every so often to avoid PR outrage. Why was Black Pigeon Speaks restored? Because the outrage became too much bad PR, so they had to backpedal and call it an accident. I don't even know if they said anything, it just came back. They've demonetized other channels, and they're trying to avoid mass public outrage. So, you know what? YouTube has created a system that's built an economy, and it's going to be devastating to a lot of people. I've built a career on YouTube over the past 2 years. I'll be fine no matter what happens. If my channels got deleted overnight, I would seriously be fine. It's not like I don't have other job offers, but I probably wouldn't work in media if that's the case. This is like the extent of my willingness to work in media at this point. I don't want to go and work for any of these companies. So if YouTube cuts it out, then, that's probably it. There's other jobs in certain areas that I have been offered, and that would probably be what happens. But YouTube, it's hard to say. Does YouTube have a right to remove people from the partner program? They do. I don't think monetization is a right. It is a privilege. I think so long as they recommend you, then, if people like your content, you can find ways to monetize. But admittedly, YouTube's automated system for monetization is massively powerful and effective. If YouTube strips your ads away, then they'll start recommending more of their premium content creators. They want to be Netflix. Look at it this way. Final thought, because it's a long video. YouTube tried doing originals, and some of them worked. YouTube tried paying YouTubers to make a series, right? They gave money to people like, I think PewDiePie got something, the Game Theory guys got stuff, and they're trying to make premium shows. They want to compete with Netflix. I think they realized, however, this artificial attempt wasn't working. There are some YouTube originals that were smash hits. Cobra Kai. I haven't watched second season, but Cobra Kai first season was really, really good. The funny thing is, Cobra Kai could never be made on YouTube by independent creators because they would just broke all the rules. It'd be demonetized, it'd be stripped, there'd be a controversy around it. So by getting their corporation behind it, everybody was okay with it. So it's going to be an interesting problem, but I think YouTube's learned artificially trying to pay YouTubers to make a new show didn't work. You need organic growth. You need that development over time to figure out what works. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to purge everybody, and I don't want to rehash all the same ideas. Long story short, I think it's very, very possible this channel will get be put on the chopping block. We'll see what happens, but the purge is upon us, and I don't know, just a rant I felt like doing. So stick around. Next video will come at 1 p.m. Again, I'm in the van. Spent the first night in it as a trial run. I'm not in the wilderness or anything. I'm actually still technically at home, but I wanted to see how the airflow would be, how the lighting would be, and this is actually a trial run before we take it on the road. So I've got to make sure I can actually do the videos. There's actually been some issues, but for the most part, I think it's working. And yeah, stick around. Next video will be at 1 p.m., and I will see you all there.